Assalamu alaikum and very good evening. Welcome you all to Ntv Europe's regular program Ntv Exclusive. And today I've been very delighted to be accompanied by David Vers MP. He is Conservative MP for Enfield Southgate since 2005. Yes. And also at the same time you are a member of Home Affairs Select Committee. You are also a member of Conservative Friends of Israel. And then also at the same time you are a member of Conservative Backbench Committee, which is known as 1992 Committee.
1922,
1922 Committee.
That's right.
Thank you very much, David, for being with us today at Ntv Exclusive. Today we'll talk about Brexit, we'll talk about the future of UK, and also at the same time Euro politics. And recent activities or recent government plans or policy that Conservative parties been doing. So if I start our first segment with Brexit, you are a great passionate supporter of Brexit. So why did you support Brexit? If you can tell us very briefly.
That's right, and thank you very much for inviting me on to NTV. It's first time here in the show here, but I've obviously regularly contributed out on the road with NTV, and also talking about Brexit and making the point to the Bangladeshi community, who I much know and very much admire, to them as much as everyone else, that we need a level playing field. We need in this world which is increasingly global, where we're connected, whether it's by television, whether it's by the internet, a trade that goes beyond just the closest neighbours who are nearest to us geographically.
Trade, security.
It goes much wider. We all have interconnection with each other. And that leads to us wanting to ensure we have good trading relationships, yes, with Europe, but also not to be constrained so much by all the rules and regulations and the costs of the European Union, but to be able to have control of a future which involves a destiny which goes to Europe, but also beyond, to non-European Union countries, to Commonwealth countries, where we've got a great history and relationship, to Bangladesh, to other countries, to the emerging economies as well. So we need to release ourselves from some of the
beyond European Union.
And we, rather than having 27 countries that all have to come to an agreement before we trade with other countries, we ourselves can do that. As you know, we're one of the strongest economies around. We are a growing economy, and most of Europe, sadly, is not growing. So we've got every interest to ensure that we are trading more with other countries as well as Europe. But it's also an issue that I know in my part of Enfield, where there's a view that on issues like immigration, we have lost control in many ways, and we need to get that control back, which means welcoming the skills we need from Europe, but also from other parts of Europe which don't have the same freedom of movement that European citizens can have, with many coming not just working but also claiming benefits. And we want to ensure that we are welcoming those who want to come and work in a way that levels up that playing field between...
But also at the same time welcoming the skilled workforce.
Yeah, definitely. We need to be open and welcoming the skills and ensuring, as perhaps we'll touch on later, also having an opportunity to provide refuge for those who are fleeing persecution. So that kind of control, which is a positive control on our borders, as well as actually, you know, I as a Member of Parliament, I've been a Member of Parliament for nearly 12 years.
You are MP for 3 consecutive terms.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And a lot of those laws I have no control over. The things that affect my constituents, things around VAT, things around the amount of time doctors work. There's lots of, some of the laws may be good ones, but some of them may be bad ones, but they're made in Brussels rather than made in Westminster. So actually, I want to make myself a lot busier. I want to have a lot more laws that are made in Westminster for the benefit of my constituents. So they can say to me, David, we like that or we don't like that, but we're holding you to account rather than you saying, sorry, it's Europe's fault.
But then, thank you for this input, David, but then you and your colleague, many of your colleagues, as for example, I remember Boris Johnson, he said there will be point-based immigration system like Australia, but then Prime Minister said no. So how do you respond to that?
That's right. So during the campaign, a lot of campaigning was had. At the end of the day, it matters what the government does. And whilst there are many of us saying, yes, we look over in Australia, that points-based system has merit, the Prime Minister, who was, let's not forget, the Home Secretary for so many years, who actually was in control of the immigration system, made it clear from an early stage that, yes, we can have that control of immigration, and that's the main issue in the campaign in terms of immigration, but we don't need necessarily a points-based one. We can have perhaps a work permit system, but one that actually, because Australia has that point system, And
it seems working okay for Australia.
But they have a situation where they need additional numbers of migrants
to run their
so they actually
service.
need to increase the numbers. We want a system that doesn't necessarily increase the numbers, but increases the skills we need.
I see.
And actually says to those that haven't got the skills that you're not going to be so welcome here.
Makes sense. So it means based on the skill shortage, maybe
Yes.
in near future, once UK come out of European Union,
Yes.
on that scenario.
So yeah, so as a similar outcome in relation to the point system, so that looking at different sectors, it may be the restaurant business, which is well known to many many of the community.
NHS.
It may be the NHS. It may be in construction or engineering. That we say, look, in this area we have a skills shortage, so we need to give permits to work here.
So I mean, because you passionately supported Brexit because you believe in level playing ground, so that people from outside of European economic
Yes.
area, they can have a fair level playing ground if
Yes.
they want to have contribution to this country. And also at the same time, you mentioned that many of the rules and regulation, you as people's representative don't have to say, rather it is dictated by Brussels.
That's right.
This is another reason
Yeah.
you have supported. But many people, they argue that David Cameron
Yes.
running away scare of UKIP for PT party political gain. He played Russian roulette for the future of this country. How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, there was many of us who were making the case for a referendum before UKIP got around, but also it wasn't in response to UKIP. It was is in response, such as with my constituents, to a general view from across different political views that we were losing control of issues such as immigration, but also that we need to make that decision now. Now, UKIP added to the flavour of the debate, and I can't speak for David Cameron why he decided to respond to what was our call. During a Queen's speech when we opened Parliament, I took the unprecedented step with others to amend that Queen's speech, to amend the programme of government to say it must include a referendum. We ended up having a bill going before Parliament to say we want a referendum. Then we had a manifesto commitment to say we will have a referendum. So it was made and created by a Conservative Party, that referendum commitment.
But many people think he did that, he did that just to stop the backbenchers of Conservative Party, saying that, I own a referendum in Scotland, so I would be able to own a referendum across the UK.
So look, David Cameron may have made a political calculation or miscalculation about what would happen, but this was not about the future of the Prime Minister, then David Cameron. It wasn't really about the future of the Conservative Party. It really is about the future of our country.
But don't you think it was due to a chaos within the Conservative Party? Don't you think so?
No, I mean I don't. I mean I think commentators will say that it was an internal dispute that's now played
even
out.
many politicians in Brussels, they say
they think that.
Yeah.
But I think what they're doing is dismissing the wider concern. In fact, it's creating for some people a gap between the politicians, not least in Brussels, and the people. Look at the election results in European elections. Fewer people voting, more and more people distrustful of what politicians say, and when they make a promise that they need to keep it, people thinking that they're not there looking after the ordinary man and ordinary woman. And that's why we're seeing European elections now, where nationalistic people, populists, are coming forward and are gaining support because the political establishment has disconnected with them. And this was an issue, actually a wider issue, about connecting with the
ordinary people.
With the people who said, yeah, we want control of our laws again, we want control of our money, we want control of our borders. And that means that mainstream politicians can be involved in that argument and follow through, rather than it be left to the more extreme elements, the populists and nationalists that are gaining traction in places like Europe.
Thank you for that. Let's talk about the financial consequences. Definitely, Brexit has put this country's financial position in the whole world in a very volatile and in a very fragile situation. The pound has gone down by 10% against the dollar. So how do you respond to that? And it will have serious ramification and consequences in near future. So do you think it's a good thing for the finance of this country?
Well, we've just had a budget. I've just voted through tonight. And it's interesting that the independent Office of Budget Responsibility has upgraded its prospects of growth to 2%. It's upgraded despite all the pessimistic predictions before Brexit. In fact, we are continuing to grow. We have the best record on employment across developing world economies. We have a good economic record still after the speculation of Brexit. So I think that's speculation. I mean, undoubtedly, the exchange rate has taken a hit. Now, obviously, that is an issue. That's a challenge. It is of benefit to people who are exporting. They are pleased about it. It suits them. The market has to readjust to the fact that there's those who benefit from the exchange rate. But that's more speculation. We haven't actually left the European Union yet. It's more, let's see what happens in 2 years' time.
The resilience will probably work.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already are resilient. We already have overcome some of those people who said that we would face a crash, a recession. We're not doing that. We are continuing to grow. We're continuing to create more jobs than any other country and all the rest of Europe put together, frankly. And so I think we need to just look forward to what kind of deal the Prime Minister will negotiate, and then we can judge the success of Brexit.
Thank you for that, David. It's good to be optimistic, but how optimistic you are about UK's relationship with the European Union?
I'm optimistic because at the end of the day, whatever politicians say, it's going to be down to business. And businesses know that that the UK economy is one that's growing, that's flexible, that has obviously has the benefits of an English language, has the benefits of a common law, of a justice system people trust. It's got a good reputation. It's got a budget that's again reducing corporation tax. It's a good place to do business, and it will continue to be so. And I think that resilience will grow over the coming years. Compared to the uncertainty really is with a Europe that is very much wedded to a single currency that is really out of step with a much more flexible market that we need. So I think at the end of the day, businesses, whether it's German car manufacturers or French wine producers, they will
cheese business.
Yeah, they will still want to do business
because
we are we're their main customer, and that will continue. That will override all the political ramifications or you know the games that people are playing, sort of a little bit of games of chess, moving things around. When business starts to deal, that's what matters, and that will continue. And so I'm very optimistic about good deals. We'll have good deals. I think the only thing we may have is stage deals. So things like the financial markets, so key here in London, just a stone throw from here. The city is so important to passport through the benefits of relationships.
But this will have a huge impact on London particularly.
It is. So we need to be really careful, and the Prime Minister said that in her Lancaster House speech.
And the government careful about it?
That we need to look at probably transitional arrangements to make sure that we will keep things going as much as they can at the moment.
Is it true that many of the business, particularly the banking and financial sector, they are planning to move to other European countries?
Well, I mean, that hasn't happened to date. There was talk about that before the Brexit vote. Some city institutions are hedging their bets a little bit, as they would do. They're speculators. So they're keeping an option open with different offices. But the reality is that the City of London, now and after we leave the European Union, has so many added benefits, aside from, which aren't contingent wholly on our membership of the European Union. And it'll be, again, the interests of the finance markets across the world to know that the City of London is a major player, the centre of it, and one that can continue.
Thank you very much, David. We hope that the government will have some resilient plan, particularly for London. We'll talk more detail about Brexit and about your politics, and also at the same time Conservative Party. We need to go for a quick break. Thank you for being with us today. We'll talk more detail. Dear viewers, today you are watching Ntv Exclusive, and I'm very delighted to be accompanied by David Burrows. Today we are talking about Brexit and the future of UK. Stay with us. We need to go for a quick break.